Okay, thanks to everyone for coming. I'm CJ Williams. We're gonna get started here. We want to start with a trailer for the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. It is Texas Chain Saw Massacre, so it's rated M for mature and some intense violence and blood and gore. But we'll go ahead and get started watching the trailer.
You think this is a party? Can't count on no one around here. You're only making it harder on yourselves. That's it. Just a little farther. I have to make it.
What do you think about that?
Awesome. Well, I'm CJ Williams. I'm the Director of Product Management, and I lead the PM team that develops PlayFab. And I'm here with my friend and colleague, Robert Fox, who we worked very closely with on being able to help them launch their game. So Robert, do you want to introduce yourself?
Man, it's been really awesome to be here and have you guys be an amazing partner for us. So my name is Rob Fox. I am a designer and producer for the Texas Chain Saw Massacre game. Work for Gun Interactive. You want to click that?
Yep. Yeah. And so today here we'll talk about two main things. So we want to talk about how Texas Chain Saw Massacre launched on PlayFab and Game Pass and how they were able to launch a very successful game with us. And then we want to show a sneak peek of some of the new things we're doing around AI and integrating it into PlayFab and being able to use it to really supercharge your ability to launch games and run your operations. So we're super excited to walk through this together. So we'll get started. Robert, do you want to talk to us a little bit about Gun Interactive, Texas Chain Saw Massacre, and kind of the success that you've seen as a studio?
Absolutely. So first of all, who here has heard of or played the Texas Chain Saw Massacre game on Xbox, PlayStation, PC? Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Don't worry, I must. So Gun Interactive, we're a very small company. We're in Kentucky. There's about 15 employees. And what we really focus on is a little different than a typical game dev shop. We do publishing, but we also do design. We're very passionate. We all really care about authenticity. So when we go and recreate environments and games, we're the ones that are flying to Texas, taking pictures of the flora and the fauna, going to the house, the actual house, taking a picture of the crown molding, making sure everything is as perfect and feels the way it is. We're calculating the sun to make sure the sun is at the correct angle in Unreal as it is in the film to really bring home that authentic experience. So that's what we do. We're designers, we have customer experience folks, we have communications people. And so a little bit about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre game if you have not played it. Who's here heard of the Friday the 13th game? Thank you very much. I was produced for that game. The Texas Chain Saw Massacre is an asymmetrical 3v4 survival horror game. So, and when I say 3v4, I mean there are three bad guys, family people, from the Texas Chain Saw Massacre film, the original iconic 1974 film. And the victims are trying to escape a deranged family of cannibals, which is probably a good thing to do. If you're wondering about this chicken right here, her, the chicken's name is Nugget, and Nugget is strategically placed around the map. And if you get too close to Nugget, you hear a sound, and that lets the family know where you are. So we're really happy about how the game is launched, how well it's doing, and we try to find good partners is what we're trying to do. So our developer partner is Sumo Digital in Nottingham. They've been fantastic, and also we're also working with Black Tower in Japan. So they've been great partners, and they've built an amazing game for us.
Yeah, and I know that when you launched, you thought it would be very successful based off of your past experience, but it really exceeded, I think, even your early expectations on how many players would play, how often they would play. You want to talk a little bit about the size of the audience?
Sure. The original Friday the 13th game was quite a success, but the initial launch day was very challenging. We had 100,000 concurrent players knocking at the door. So like we wanted to make sure that, okay, now that we know that there's going to be a big audience, we want to make sure that we can accommodate them, provide a seamless experience on launch day. So like we want to have a partner that's available and can do these things for us.
Yeah. And I think we were, very excited to be able to partner with you and launch this super successful game. And so I'd love if you would talk a little bit more about what you were looking for in a partner, what kind of made you choose PlayFab? What were the key things that you were looking for?
Sure. So when you're developing a game, it's not a solo journey. We need to find good partners that can work, that can count on for like development, that we count on to be there for launch, and also, so the game is an online game, so we need someone there for live ops as well. So our game is built in Unreal, and one of the main things we really want to do is have crossplay, as in like PlayStation, Xbox, and PC players can all play together. Gen 9 consoles and PCs playing together, because we want a large user base and our games excel when we have a large user base. That's what we're aiming for. We could try to find a partner that could do that for us, rather than us building our own tools like we had to do with previous.
Yeah, and I know when we first started working together, you talked a little bit about your Friday the 13th experience, about how you had to build all of that capability yourself. You want to talk a little bit about how that went and kind of what made you think that you really wanted to go with a partner?
It was really a very challenging experience, as you might say. So our development partner for Friday the 13th, but they went in and built in like backend tools and databases and all these things manually, which is good, but at the same time, that takes away time that we can be using to develop the game itself and make the gameplay experience more fun. So it was good to be able to approach PlayFab. And what's cool about this is we initially didn't want to use all the services that PlayFab provided. We were just, we'll just use them for players. So we don't have to worry about having VMs with databases and all those type of things. We don't have to worry about build that back end. But as we saw more and more services that PlayFab provided, it just makes sense to try and use more of those things in the game.
And we'll talk a little bit more about all the services that you used as we go along. But one of the things that you talked about that really wanting is that reliability, right? You launch a game, it goes out to everybody, and you want to make sure that the reliability is there, that your players are able to get in and play the game.
Exactly. So when we talk about reliability, and we want to be able to scale on demand. We don't want to have any instance where players are not able to join the game, because at one time that they can't do that, that's a negative experience and they may or may not come to the game. But we wanted to remove all that and be able to scale. But while we're able to scale when things are high on the weekends or at launch, we also want to be able to be cost efficient. So be able to scale down too, or hit that unexpected spike that we weren't anticipating. We have the tools to do that.
Yeah, and then, I think you'd mentioned this a little bit before, but you really wanted to drive the efficiency of your studio. You're a small studio, you don't have a lot of people, but you want to build a massive game, a very successful game. And so can you talk a little bit about how PlayFab helped you kind of increase that developer velocity?
So what was really cool about this is we had a different partner that was providing many of our back-end services, and we had been in development for 2 years, so all of their things were well integrated. But we had to switch. We had to switch and look for other solutions. And it only took 2 months to transition from this partner to everything being done in PlayFab, including multiplayer servers and matchmaking and all the code that we needed to do. So this is really awesome that we were able to do this really rapid prototyping, making sure things work, making sure things were cost effective. And then again, once all the rapid prototyping is done, we can go back to focusing on making the game fun.
And then, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the support and partnership that we built over the months that we worked together leading up to your launch and kind of through your launch?
I have to give the PlayFab team all the props in the world. Just meeting them in the beginning, it was very meticulous to try and get all the little pieces of a multiplayer online game working together. And so you guys aren't just a partner. You're actually there at the beginning. You were helping us with development calls. You're helping us get the code integrated, all the transitions. And even beyond that, once the game launched, the game launches and it's the weekend and we're out doing other things. And I'm saying, hey, I need some help, David. What can you do to help me? And he's alive and instantly responding. So we really felt like we were Gun is a very small company, but we felt like we were the big fish, the immediacy of the response and services. And even very recently, we had some other issues, and immediately the team was on the go, and we were back up and running as quickly as possible. So I love this team, and it didn't feel like they just wanted to be sold. We felt like we just wanted to they wanted to give us a good product and a good experience, and they knew what we were looking for in our game.
And that's at PlayFab, this is one of the big things. You know, we have a lot of passionate gamers building PlayFab as well. They love to play games, and we want to be there for all of our game creators who are building on PlayFab. So
absolutely, you guys understand games,
yes.
and that's what we needed as a partner.
And that's, you know, really what we want to do to provide any game creator that's wanting to build these massive games, cross-platform, cross-network, be able to support cross-play across these different devices. We want to be there. We want to be able to help you with your launch. We'll help you, you know, through the architecture, what's going well. And then when issues do arise, you know, we're there 24/7 to be able to help you kind of work through them and get your players back online playing the game as quickly as possible.
Okay, let's talk about some more services.
Yeah, so now I'd love to kind of have you walk the audience through kind of the PlayFab services that you use, because as you said, you started with one, and then you just kind of kept using one more and one more and one more, and you actually use a pretty big suite of our services. Not all of them, as we'll talk about, but a pretty big suite of our services you use for your game.
Okay, so as I said, we initially started just with using player and authentication. So what does that mean? That means that we wanted to have a system, a database where we can easily query and look up players. And the other thing that we wanted to do is we really wanted to reduce player friction. And when I say reduce player friction is we didn't want players to have to open up a web browser, create an account, create a password on their phone, then go back to the game. We didn't want to do any of that. We wanted to make sure that it was just seamless and integrated in one click, and they didn't have to do anything. It just, everything worked. And PlayFab. Oh, there we go. Maybe we need to switch out batteries. So we wanted to reduce player friction. And what's cool is authorization, all these things are done under the covers. We programmatically create accounts and all that works. And the reason we wanted to do this is because, as I said before at the beginning, is we wanted to have crossplay. That was super important to us to have Gen 9 and PC crossplay. And PlayFab allows us to do that. In fact, it was so easy to do. It was basically just a checkbox. I remember sitting at my desk, and I'm on my dev PlayStation 5, and I saw my creative director on his PC, and we're in a match together. And we didn't do anything. It just worked. It's like, that was really cool. Like, that was the aha moment for us. Also, we use several services like economy and things like that on the back end. Because our game is an online multiplayer game, and we keep track of things like experience and level and skill points and things like that, we don't want that on the client, because that's where like hacking can be done locally, or files can be edited. So we keep all that stuff and stored on the server. So that also means that, okay, if we have a customer service issue and someone's missing some skill points or some skill trees or things like that, we can go into the UI that we didn't have to build, by the way. It was just there for us. Type in their name, either their Steam name, their PlayStation name, their Xbox names, whatever, or their long Steam 64 ID. Many ways to look up people, find their information, see the progress that they've done, their level, their skills, things they've done in the game, and manipulate that if we need to, or change and things like that. Now, I talk about the positive things we're able to do with players, right? We can find good things that players are doing and account for them, maybe even reward. We can give them other little incentives. Hey, you're my friend. I want to give you an extra 150 skill points just because we're friends. I'm not going to do that. But we can also see malicious intent. So if we see like players, and we saw this early on in the game, where all of a sudden the game was out like a week and people are level 99, and that's not very viable. The math doesn't work out on that, but we were able to find those players and then appropriately kick ban them. So that was fun. So we can find malicious people, and we can find cheaters, and again, all that was just done for us. We didn't have to create anything. Going back to more positive things, we can also reward players. So if I see that you're in a certain region or you've done a certain goal, we can say, hey, thanks for participating in this event, double XP or whatever it is, and we can give you more points or incentives or items or badges or whatever. So yeah, previously we had to write all the code, we had to write all the databases, had to write the backend, sync all those things. No, we didn't have to do any of that. We just used the services provided for us. I don't have to worry about it. Let's make sure the database is backed up. No, It's all done for us.
Yeah. And, you know, as we look at PlayFab overall, this is one of the big things that we want to provide is this backend as a service. So you come in, you use our service. You don't have to worry about, you know, where your databases, how many times it's been backed up, where it's running, or anything like that. You really are able to focus on first the gameplay, making it a great, fun game to play, and then the things that you need to do as a company around that. So, managing your players, rewarding your players, helping them progress, all of these kind of things. And so that's a big focus of what we try to do for all game creators, kind of PlayFab wide. And then I was going to say, and then as we look at it, so we have these core set of services, and many of that Rob talked about. So player identity, player profile, so you can know everything that's happening about your player across your game. We also do native API integration. So we support Unreal, the engine that you chose to use.
Unreal. Mm-hmm.
But we also support Unity, Game Maker, just C++ API or SDK. So if you have your own game engine, so really wherever your game is being built, you can add that PlayFab support in very easily. And as Rob said, what we find from a lot of creators is it just happens very quickly. They're able to get it up and running within minutes. I think there was a demo earlier at GDC where someone got PlayFab integration on stage in 32 minutes, up and running completely. And then,
the demo.
Yeah. And then for the full integration, we're talking about weeks or months. You're not talking about a year to get it fully integrated, but go from, the first time that you touch PlayFab to when you actually are ready to launch your game can be a very quick time. And you're able to kind of reduce that cycle so that you can start getting your game out at scale for people to start testing and kind of giving you feedback and all of that kind of stuff. So we really look at how quickly you can go, build with PlayFab. And then another one that we look at that I don't think Gun uses, but what we call CloudScript. And so you can think about CloudScript as our ability to for creators to go and do whatever they want with PlayFab. So it's a lot like Azure Functions or Lambdas, where you can go and write any code, inject it into PlayFab, and have it go run those things on your behalf. And so, we like to build as much as we can with PlayFab as far as the services that we provide and the features, but we also make sure that it's extensible so that you can go and build whatever you need to make your game successful.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that we use in CloudScript, but but because it's there and extends and it's extendable, we can do more things that we just haven't thought of yet.
Yeah. And this is one of the things also that we look at with PlayFab is that we don't look at it as an all or nothing, right? So you don't have to pick up all the different features that we have. You can come in, you can choose one thing, you can start using it, and if there's something else that helps you, you can start to build more and more services. Or use more and more of the PlayFab services over time. And that's what we see from a lot of game developers is they'll come in, use something like player profiles or auth because it gets them up and running. And then as they start to expand their game and add more capabilities, they're start to choose more PlayFab capabilities that they want to use. And then sometimes they choose to build their own, right? Because, maybe our service isn't quite what they want, but they're able to go and integrate with the rest of the PlayFab suite, the services that they build. So it's really important for us not to make it, all or nothing, but very modular. So you can come and decide the capabilities that you want to provide or want to use, and then build whatever you want to build on your own and kind of have it work very seamlessly with PlayFab. So we'll talk next a little bit about multiplayer gaming. Of course, your game is heavily focused on multiplayer. You use a lot of our multiplayer capabilities. You want to talk a little bit about how you use those?
Absolutely. So this is another instance where we were starting to use some services, and then we found I think we can use more PlayFab services to do what we need to do. So for the multiplayer gaming service, again, we're a small company, but we're cost conscious, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we have a great player experience. We don't mind spending the money to do that. My boss told me, hey, let's not repeat what we did with F-13, open the literal fire hose, let everyone come in. And we were able to find my previous background. I was an enterprise IT architect for 20 years. So talking about VMs, this is right up my alley, right? So we're able to find the correct size VM that's robust enough to host the number of instances of the game that we want, but still at a good hourly rate. So the costs aren't going to go haywire. So that was really nice. And we have tools for deployment, and I could put our various servers in various regions, and these things spin up very quickly. So if I know we're going to do something where we need a sale, or we need to add load or reduce load, it's just a matter of a couple of clicks, and those things happen.
And I think for a game like yours, it's very important to have low latency. And so having a large number of regions where you can put the game servers very close to the players is important.
Absolutely. And we have servers deployed all around the world for just that. So we don't want to leave out any markets. And we're doing it as best as we can as far as deploying. We're able to do that. And there's also, PlayFab has a feature called dynamic scaling. So let's say I put a number of servers out on standby, and all of a sudden something happens where everyone wants to come play the game, and I miss it. Dynamic scaling automatically accounts for that and adds more servers to standby. So things, if I'm asleep, things are still going to work, and I'm not going to get angry emails in the morning like, why weren't there enough servers? Why can't people play? Thank goodness for dynamic scaling. So we also use matchmaking. So matchmaking is really great. Out of the box, we don't have to do anything. We can matchmake, obviously, with the console that you're on, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, Xbox One, PC, and Xbox Game Pass on PC. But we can matchmake between the platforms. So as I said before, all Gen 9 platforms and PC can matchmake, and there's nothing we had to do that just worked out of the box.
And one thing that we hear a lot about this ability to be able to matchmake across platforms is it makes your game feel really big, right? Because you're not segmenting your users where, only PlayStation players can play together or Xbox players. Your entire player community can play together. And so it makes these games that need, 7, 8, even more players feel very big because you can quickly find a match that's very, very fun. It's, kind of you're getting to play the game more and more as opposed to just sitting waiting in a lobby, for enough players on that particular platform and that region and all of those kind of things.
Yeah, we really like, and we are very proud that a person's able to start the game and be in a match in a lobby in about 3-4 minutes. That's what we're trying to shoot for.
Yeah.
And we're able to do that. And as far as matchmaking rules are concerned, like by default, we can just matchmake with anybody. But we can also assign things like skill. We can assign things like region, ping, level, all those things. And we didn't have to write specific code to make that work, but we can extend the existing matchmaking rules to have that. And it's like I said, to have a lobby of 7 players and they're all across platform. It's a really cool feeling to see that.
And when you think about back to like your Friday the 13th, experience, I'm sure there, if you wanted to add skill to your matchmaking, you had to go write a bunch of code. Whereas this is all configuration, right? You go in, you set the rules, you can change the rules over time, see how it's affecting players' play and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I really like that we have these services. We don't have to write backend code. We can just check a box or do a configuration change.
Yeah, which gives a lot of flexibility, right? Because, one of the things that we find with a lot of game creators on their matchmaking, as an example, is that they'll go and have a set of rules that work well for a while. And then as their player base changes, they want to kind of change those rules along with that player base. And so we give you the ability where you don't have to deploy new code, but you can try out new things. You can see how it works, reconfigure on the fly, and see how your player base responds, and really keep it dynamic as your player base is changing over time.
So what are some other things you guys do?
Yeah, so some other things that we do that Gun doesn't particularly use is leaderboards and player stats. So this is a big one, of course, for very competitive games, whether it be leaderboards within your guilds and clans, or personal leaderboards, or leaderboards with your friends. And so we give you the ability to kind of build out these leaderboards based off of the stats inside the games. So whether it's number of kills, the number of survivals, anything like that. So basically any stat that you want to keep track of across the game, you can create leaderboards based off of that.
And that's also cool because should we in the future want to implement some of these things programmatically, we can do that quickly.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we see, games now are, of course, living much longer. They're, adding new features over time. And so you have the ability to, maybe launch with a set of features. And then as your next, revision or DLC or whatnot, you can come out and add new features. And if you've already integrated with PlayFab, it becomes very easy to add those features over time. Another one that we have that's very popular is our what we call PlayFab Party. And so this is the ability to do in-game chat, both voice and text.
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit more.
Okay, you'll talk about that. What do you want to talk about it now?
Yeah, well, let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
So some of these features for gameplay. Or maybe let's go back. I think we're skipping one. There we go. Okay. So talking about party chat, I'll talk about that first since that's what you're about to talk about. I don't know if anyone here has ever tried to implement voice chat manually. It is kind of challenging. You have to know SIP, reverse proxies, double firewalls. There's all of these rules, codecs that you have to negotiate and try and figure out. No one has time to do that. Fortunately, PlayFab has done that for us. So what's also cool about that is the VoIP is cross-platform. And that's really nice. So we didn't have to do anything. It was just done all for us. And that also includes chat and text too as well. So if we have a user that does not have a microphone or a headset, if they need to communicate, they can also still type in the chat box. And again, that works cross-platform. There's moderation tools and things like that. We can assign and plug into the back end to make sure people are speaking nicely to each other as well.
Yeah, and with Party, it's also our back-end networking kind of protocol. So for a lot of games, when they implement cross-play, cross-network, you need that networking capability. So it also provides that. And then, as Rob said, we provide moderation. We also provide accessibility, so speech to text, text to speech, so that if you're having to implement those things in your game, it basically comes very, very quickly in PlayFab Party. So it helps you get all of the kind of accessibility, content moderation capabilities that you need now around voice and text chat very quickly and easily. So it's been a very powerful feature for a lot of our creators because they don't have to now go implement all of this, very complex code.
Okay, cool. Let's go on to the next thing.
Okay, gameplay experiences.
So we have up here economy. When we use the economy feature in PlayFab for is keeping track of each character or each family member, each victim or family member. They all have skill trees, and as you play the game and earn skill points, you're able to go ahead and add these things. We wanted to keep economy on the server rather than the backend. Because we want the server to be the authoritative figure, which is another thing that we use CloudScript for.
Right.
We can use that to help out that. But with virtual currency, we can keep track of what players are doing. We can assign them, remove them, add things like that. If we need to bump certain players, if you hand me candy, I might be able to bump your level. I'm kidding, we're not gonna do that. My customer experience person is looking at me, giving me the evil eye right now. But we're able to do those things if there's ever issues with networking or something like that. So economy gives us the ability to do that. So there's a feature called Title News. And what Title News does is allows us to have a direct way to update the community. So when you start the game, a big pop-up box appears, kind of like in Steam, and we can put whatever text that we want to in that box, and that text can be rich and formatted well. So we can use it to announce new events that are happening, or whenever we have patches, we can have that. Or if the game is having issues, we can adapt. We can put these things in so the players who are not on Reddit or Discord or Twitter, X, or whatever format of social media they're looking at, they can figure out what's going on. So it gives us the ability to directly talk to the players. And being able to talk to the players, that means that we can drive engagement and be able to give things that they want and then things that they can see.
And some other things that we do here. So Gun uses our economy service kind of as this back-end, almost progression-like experience. We have a lot of games that use the exact same system for their in-app purchases, and so things like inventory and catalog, this ability to have your whole economy within your game. And then we connect it to, basically the commerce platforms of whatever device you're on. So whether it be Android or iOS or Xbox or PC, Steam, Sony, Nintendo, you're able to make those purchases, in that platform and then have the fulfillment happen within the game. And so it's a very nice and easy service that you can get up and running, both for these kind of in-game progression-like experiences as well as an in-game marketplace. And then along with the marketplace, we also have a user-generated content marketplace experience where you can go in, if you have mods, if you have a player community that's creating experiences within your game, you can also leverage these same services to be able to, basically have a content or a UGC marketplace experience where people can go and buy or can download, content that your users are creating. And this is one where we find a lot of value in driving the player community, right? Because as players are creating for their game, they're more likely to stick, they're more likely to retain, and players love to play other players' creation. So it's been a really great experience for a lot of games. And so, as we look at kind of that complete suite of economy, UGC, kind of the connection to the commercial services of whatever platform, it provides both that very rich kind of progression-like experience if that's what you're choosing, or you can build a whole, basically your the way that you make money can be all based off of that. So it's a very powerful feature that provides a wide swath of creators a lot of capabilities.
Let's check out this last thing.
Yeah, so data and analytics, I think it's always important to understand what's going on within your game. So love to hear kind of how you use data and analytics in.
So who here, raise your hand if you're a big fan of data, analytics, telemetry. I love the stats. I love the numbers. I do. So what's really awesome is I want to talk about segments first. A segment is something I can create in the UI, and I can go in and programmatically say, hey, I need to see the number of PlayStation players that have logged in the past 48 hours. And this number just appears, and there's no calculation I have to do, it just works. And these things are persistent, and they update in real time. We've been able to do things like I mentioned malicious players. We have a segment that says, hey, give me the number of players that were level 99 in 3 days. Like, there's physically not enough time to do that. But we can also create events based on this. So I can do a thing where I can say, okay, between this day and this day, if you got this much experience, we can give you this many skill points or extra XP or some other thing. So what this does is drives us to create events based on players and the things that they do. And like I said, I can see the number of different platforms, and I can see all kinds of cool stuff. So segments are a really cool feature, I didn't drop anything, right? So we provide really robust telemetry. So that's things like where players can escape, and this is on the design side. So as I said, I'm the designer for the game. My customer experience person can consume all this telemetry. Everyone give Melissa a big hand. Thank you. So what's cool about this is we have customer service and design working together. So I can go to customer service and say, hey, customer experience, tell me how many characters escaped out these these different exits, or how many died here at this location, or which characters are chosen the most, which characters are chosen the least. And we have like a heat map where we can see all the activity that goes on to the game. So with this telemetry, I'm able to make design decisions and do things like, okay, maybe I need to adjust stats, or maybe I need to talk to the community, or maybe I need to go in and rework how abilities work. And I all have this based on the telemetry that is provided. And we want to do this is really good info about where our players are. It's about their platform, so I can see okay, maybe are there a large number of Xbox players playing this character or choosing this map. But it's just all about having a good player experience. And another thing that we can use here, we use KQL, which stands for Kusto Query Language. Who here has written a SQL statement, SQL query, right? So KQL is more of read-only rather than try and produce and inject things into the database. But what that does is it's a very SQL-esque type of language in order to pull telemetry. So we can make reports, and we can build cool graphs and charts based on what players are doing, how they're playing the game. And we can put those things on social to get people excited about, hey, we got 1 million people doing this or escaping this map, or there's 1 million of these new DLC characters that are running around and killing everybody. So it's cool to have all that and be able to use query. So if you want to get something much deeper than what a segment can do, the KQL language can do that.
Yeah, and this is one of our, very kind of horizontal capabilities, because you can use it across. You can use it for design, you can use it for support, you can use it for operations. So there's lots of ways that you can use the data that we provide. And as the kind of building the set of services, we provide out of the box a large number of kind of built-in events, so you can really understand what's happening within your game. But we also, as Rob talked about, give you the ability to write your own telemetry. And so you can get very deep. Designers can go in and say, okay, here's what I want to know about how the player's playing the game. You can go implement that, and then all of that data is given to you, together, where you can query it, you can build reports, all of these kind of things. And then on top of that data, that's where we build a set of data services. And so you talked about segmentation, which is a fantastic set of services where not only can you build these services, you can actually, or these segments, you can actually create actions that automatically happen. And so, in the example of players that get to level 99, you could automatically ban them, or maybe put them on a timeout as you're investigating or something like that. And so it provides you this very kind of rich pipeline of knowing what your players are doing, creating segments, and then taking actions based off of those, all without having to, write code or like manually go intervene or anything like that.
We did, in fact, have a segment that went in. It was like, if you do these bad things, automatically we're going to ban you. So
Yeah.
that was a fun one to write.
So segmentation is a very powerful feature, and again, it's because it's kind of available across all the data that you have. You can use it for design, you can use it for gameplay, you can use it for customer support. So another example is you create a segment of users that maybe run into a bug, as an example, and you can automatically do make good. So you can send them some virtual currency or some experience points or something like that. So it's a very kind of rich way that you can engage with your player base without having to write a whole bunch of code, without having to manually do a lot of kind of things that you would traditionally have to do. Another one that we do is called experimentation. So this is based off of A/B testing. And so here we have the ability where you can go and create experiments, run those experiments, and then see the data. How are players responding to one experience versus another experience, and then look at kind of your key metrics, whether they be engagement or retention or monetization based, and see how the players are, directly impacted or directly responding to the experiments, and then roll out, the one that wins out to all of your games. So that's another one that we see a lot. And then we also have kind of both these built-in reports and trends. So the things that you would expect, what's my retention, how many players are playing, where in the world they're playing, all of these kind of things. But then we also give you this rich ability to write these KQL queries, save them, and then build reports based off of those.
The reports were super helpful as we were launching the game and trying to determine engagement of players. But we had all this data, not just players and what they're doing with pretty charts that can be adjusted, which is very helpful, but also things like how many API calls are we doing? So things at the programmatic level we were able to look at. It was all just there in the dashboard.
Yeah, and we provide that kind of rich experience inside of what we call Game Manager, which is our user experience for game creators. But we also make it available so you can take it out into your cloud subscriptions and go and run any of your kind of data engines on it. So Databricks, Microsoft Fabric, all of those kind of things. You can push it into Power BI and build your own custom dashboards. So it provides you kind of this rich, easy to use functionality inside of PlayFab, and then the ability to bring it outside and do even more kind of robust capabilities on top of it using whatever your favorite tools are. So if you don't like KQL, you can push it out to a SQL Server and write SQL queries on it.
We'll stick with Power BI.
So it provides a lot of abilities for the games to understand kind of these very different aspects of their player experience. And you can really target it to any of, whether you're a designer or an engineer or customer support or anything like that. You can inject this telemetry in it so that you can basically do your job at much higher scale than you could and really be able to look across your full player base. So I think that kind of wraps up the big set of functionality that Gun uses.
Yeah, and we use a lot of things, like as I said, we initially weren't going to use as many just because we had different solutions. But after looking at all the things that were offered, we expanded and it's great. So what else we got?
Yeah, so I want to kind of, start to wrap us up, but if I can click the next button. And so, as we look at PlayFab has really become a big part of our gaming ecosystem within Xbox and Microsoft. And so when we look at PlayFab, it's essentially our backend game services that we use to support game creators across the world. So when you think about PlayFab, we want you to think about multi-platform support, right? We support Xbox, we support PC, Steam, iOS, Android, Sony, Nintendo, basically any gaming platform out there, we support it because we want to be able to enable creators that are trying to target any platform that they want to. So we don't want to be a barrier, and we actually want to help them go and support these additional platforms very easily. And we see a lot of creators where they'll go and support one or two platforms to begin with, and then because PlayFab is already supporting other platforms, as they roll out to more platforms, it just becomes very easy. They don't have to necessarily worry about the back end as they're writing kind of that game for a new platform. The other thing is I'd mentioned earlier, we support, a wide variety of game engines. So of course the most popular Unity and Unreal. GameMaker is another one that's, pretty popular in certain type of communities, and they have nice PlayFab.
And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of GameMaker, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier in GDC, and we were talking about the support of GameMaker, and Rob lit up because I think you built some early games.
Early stuff, I did some early design in GameMaker, and that makes me happy, so yes.
And then we support just from our SDK. So if you don't, use one of those game engines, we support C++, C#, a wide variety of languages where you can support it, in whatever engine that you have. And then when we think about reliability, so today, PlayFab, on a basically daily basis, we have 500 monthly active users across all the games that are on PlayFab. So it's a very large player base that are interacting with PlayFab services, essentially every single day. And then because we're, of course, within Microsoft, we have some of the largest Xbox Game Studio titles running on PlayFab. So titles like Minecraft, Flight Sim, Sea of Thieves, Halo, Gears of War. I'm missing some, but some of the largest games in the world are running on PlayFab and betting on PlayFab as being their back-end services. And so it's something that we really pride ourselves as being there, being reliable, making sure that these wide number of games that players love to play, that they're able to play them whenever they want.
My kids heard you say Minecraft, so we're good.
Yeah, that tends to be one of the most popular ones, with kids, where you're like, oh, I work on Minecraft, or I help Minecraft ship, and they become very excited. My kids as well. That was when I started working on PlayFab. When I told them like, oh, Minecraft runs on it. That was their biggest excitement.
Now
So
Daddy's
like,
cool.
Finally, they cared what I did. And then. When we look at increasing velocity, we talked a little bit about it, but the story that Rob told is one that, we hear day in and day out, and what we really strive to do. We want to make sure game developers are able to focus on what they want, which is making a very fun, compelling game, right? That's the key thing. I think every game developer we've ever talked to, like, that's what they want to focus on, not where, well, you might be an exception, but not where the VM is, or not a lot of developers get excited about VMs like you do.
Yeah, I'm definitely nerdy, but just to emphasize this, writing your own backend is a completely doable thing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but that just takes time. That takes time that we would love to use on other parts of the game creation experience.
And so that's, one of the things, this is one of the big reasons why we have PlayFab, is so that game creators can focus on their game, making it fun, making it compelling, why we go and kind of run the back end for you. And so that's what we love to do, is be able to power all of the games that are running on PlayFab and let them go build the great experiences. And then, Rob touched on as well, we have a lot of people on the team that have built games. They know how, the pressure it is when you're launching a game, when, it's midnight and your biggest crowd is coming and they're like, why is the game server down, or why can't I connect? And so we're really there with the game creator whenever they need to be. So as Rob said, if it's midnight and you're, something happens, you ping us and we're there.
I really don't understand when the support team sleeps. I don't know when you guys sleep, because I've messaged at all kinds of hours and I always get a quick response. And more importantly, I get a solution, and that's more what I want.
And that's what we want. I mean, we want to be able to ensure that when a game creator comes and chooses PlayFab, that they can count on us, right? That we're there when they need us, particularly launches, big events, when they're, maybe doing a new map or level or a new season or anything like that. And so we work very closely with our creators to understand when they're going to launch, when they're going to have peak times, making sure they're ready, making sure we're ready. And it's something that we really pride ourselves on doing, so that, the game creator can go and focus on creating the game and not everything else.
Yeah, we absolutely had a great launch. We were able to accommodate all the players. We had very, very, very few issues. And as I mentioned before, we are a small company, but we felt important. We felt like we had priority. And again, the lightning fast response on any issues that we had, either with development questions or whatever we were trying to do. So it's just a very great experience. Launch and live ops.
Yes. So one other thing that I thought we could spend a little bit of time on, Rob, and you could talk about is your experience with Game Pass. So Texas Chain Saw Massacre was a launch on Game Pass as well. So I'd love to hear kind of your experience with Game Pass as a game creator.
Sure. So how many people have Game Pass? I do not work for Xbox, but I will say Game Pass is one of the best deals in gaming right now. I can't overstate the importance of what Game Pass is. Game Pass gives us access to millions and millions of players. So we have sold 1.1 million units, and we have 5.5 million players, and 4.5 of those million are on Game Pass. Again, that's a segment that we can look up and see who's on Game Pass, right? And that's just a really fantastic thing to know, because that means there will always be someone to either try to chop up or be chopped up from. There's always gameplay. There's always someone in a lobby ready for you to play. So, and for an online multiplayer game, that's how we strive. That's how we live. We have a huge player base, and that is quite a bit thanks to Game Pass. So this also gives us unparalleled exposure. The fact that we're on Game Pass, we're on the store, we're on the socials, we're on the icons, that means we expand our reach, and it attracts a new diverse player base. How many times have you been, oh, you can raise your hand if you want to, how many times have you been looking at Game Pass to see what's new? Like, you know what? I don't know what game this is. I'm just going to try it real quick. A lot of people did that with Texas, and they found, hey, this is really fun. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So this gives us like people who may not think that they like a horror game or an asymmetrical game, and find out like, hey, it's a lot of fun. So that was great. We got a lot of good word of mouth, people playing the game. We got some good positive reviews. And so this also, Game Pass gave us some financial flexibility. So we're able to encourage even more players and to explore the game and explore different games that are similar to the type games. And it gives us increased retention. So if a player knows that they can get a game on Game Pass and they can play it, they're more likely to stick around and keep playing that. We've seen that with our stats and telemetry and things like that. Again, the last thing I'll say about this is we want to really maintain a really strong player base. And because we have this thick, robust number of Game Pass users, we have that awesome player base. And it's a good, great foundation that we can use if we need to do updates, or we need to do experience events or community-based events or anything like that. We know that we can depend, or we have that huge player base to draw from, and that is quite a bit thankful to Game Pass. Now, the other last thing I want to talk about this is the Game Pass team and the PlayFab team. What better way to support your game and know what avenues to put it in or where to expose it than to play the game itself? So the teams actually played the game with us so they could understand the game and know how best to move it forward with marketing and things like that. So that was really something unexpected. Like, you know, you see a lot of you see a lot of like providers, there's like, oh, well, we'll just get the game out, hope it makes us money. But these guys and gals really wanted to play the game and understand the game, have fun with the game. And once they had fun, they were able to help us out and see what best other things that we could do. So it was an awesome partnership.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, and this has been a great partnership as we've been able to work together. So I do want to kind of look a little bit into the future with you. So, you know, we've had a great experience together, help you launch a very successful game, but we continue to see how we can do even better. And as I said, like, our goal is to make it so that game developers can really focus on building their game, creating a great game, and not necessarily have to worry as much about the operations. And I think we've done a pretty good job, but we want to do even better, right? And so we want to give you a little bit of a look into the future, but love to hear, you know, kind of some things that might be exciting for you that we could potentially help you with.
Absolutely. So very recently we had a sale on Xbox where if you pay this much, you had this event, whatever, just a good sale. But we had to make sure to anticipate for the numbers of servers of the new users that are going to come in and take advantage of the game. It's a free weekend, free gameplay weekend. But like, we never know exactly how many servers to scale up for the amount of users coming in. And it would be really cool if we had some sort of AI-based tool that I could say, hey, this sale's going to happen, it's going to be this long. How many servers do I need to do? And either like just tell me or make that an actionable thing where I can just say, okay, I approve this and do it. And also things like naturally query and KQL. Like, I know SQL, but it's been a while. It takes me a while to hunt and peck and get things going. But I shouldn't have to know KQL in order to like come up with a query and ask. Like it'd be really cool if we had some sort of smarts that could come up with these queries for us.
Yeah, so I want to show a sneak peek at a private preview that we're starting to roll out to some of our creators, and want to bring it out, of course, publicly, where we're integrating Copilot capabilities into PlayFab Game Manager to help with some of these scenarios. So we're going to switch over to video. We didn't do a live demo here just because of the connectivity, some of the connectivity issues, but this was a live demo that we ran on synthetic data, so it's not a real title. But it shows you kind of the power of what a Copilot can do and really simplify, experience or scenarios like what Rob talked about. And so what we're going to look at here is basically a demo of a Copilot where, exactly as Rob said, you're going to have a launch event in a few weeks. You want to start planning for it, but you want to, make sure everything's up and ready. And so here we type in a question, basically you're saying like in Europe, you're going to be having an event that'll increase the number of players. You're telling the time frame, so from April 22nd to April 24th. And what you see here is you're providing it some context, and then it's coming back and telling you the build that you have in MPS that matches what you're looking for. And so it says this demo 3 build that you have, and it gives you some information about, these are max number of servers, and, here's the standby servers that you have configured, and some other information that you have. And so it gives you this information, but you're starting to build the context with the Copilot about what you're trying to do. And so you can, we come over here and we show, it's not hallucinating. It's, we have this build, demo build 3, Northern Europe with the 3 standby servers, the 9 maximum servers. And so you're starting to build this context with the Copilot. And then we're gonna, and this is, as I said, it was a recorded live demo, so we have to wait for some of the Copilot stuff to think about what it's doing. But here we're gonna now kind of start building up these set of questions. And so this next one is basically, it's saying, can you check over the last week the peak number, right? And so it's gonna go in and look at the historical data and tell you, what your suggested standby are based off of your history if you think you're going to have a 200% increase in players in this Northern Europe data center. And so it's going and it's grabbing all of this data instead of you having to look, kind of go find it, go right.
Exactly what we do and look at, yes.
And then here, as you see, it's responding. It gives you the answer, but it does more than that. It kind of tells you exactly how it's, deciding what to suggest. So, it's showing its math, its work in front of you, so you can decide, oh, this is what we want to do. And again, this is a Copilot, not an autopilot, right? And so you do need to read and check to make sure it's doing the right thing. But here it's showing you, and suggesting that you're going to want to have these 9 VMs, and then based off of that, you're going to want to increase the number of standby servers. But as Rob said, you don't want to go and do it right now. If the sales or the event's going to be in a couple of weeks, you want to schedule this. And so here, you're asking, can you create this schedule standby in the future? And you're not having to tell it everything every single time, because it has that context. If you remember that very first question where you were telling it when the date range was, what build, what region, all of that kind of stuff. So now it's coming in, it's saying, hey, we're ready to take the action. And so you can come in here, you can review the action, you can make sure, the standby servers are correct, the build ID is correct, the region, all of these kind of things. You can look at when the schedule was for. So, it's going to schedule it for 422 through 424. And then once you've verified everything, you can click OK, you can tell it to go do it, and it's going to call a PlayFab API on its own and just have it automatically configured. So, it says, OK, now I'm going to go do it. And then what we'll see is kind of that, as it's working and it's calling that API, it's telling you what it's doing. And then you can see that it's, all scheduled, ready to go. And so here, you can work in advance. We're going to come in here and you can see that Northern Europe has the override for that period of time. And so, 2-3 weeks in advance, you can take care of it. You don't have to wait to the last minute, and it's just going to be there ready to go when your event goes live.
And again, we can do these things manually, but it's a lot of steps to do if we have a lot of servers in a lot of regions. So that's just a lot of time to dedicate to do that. But this tool automates these things for us.
And so I think, to your point, now you can go back and do other things, right? You can make the game even more fun. You can play the game, right?
Play the game.
Gives you time to play the game more. And so there's the number of scenarios like these that we're working on to really help, leverage these AI capabilities to make it easier to do your job, make it easier to find this deep information, and potentially, explore and understand even more of what PlayFab can do. So that's just a look into the future of where we're going on some of these capabilities.
And when I first saw this demo with real data, my mind was blown away. Like, please, I need this right now, ASAP. So I'm really looking forward to it.
We showed you just a little bit after your sell, so you're like, if only.
I wish you had told me this before.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Rob. It's great being able to hear the story of Texas Chain Saw Massacre. I know you launched a very successful game. It was great to be able to partner with you and kind of help you succeed.
And thank you guys for being a great partner. And I'm not just saying that candidly. Like, you all work with us, you made us feel important, but you provided service for us that we're used to able to leverage and engage a large player base and just people have fun. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah, well, and that's what we want to do together, right? Help players play great games, have fun playing them. So thank you all. If you want to learn more about how Texas Chain Saw Massacre used PlayFab, we have some more information online, so you can go and read more about what they've done. And then we'll be around to answer any questions that you have.
Please fill out the survey. Give us all positive marks by the game.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Keep gaming. Thank you. Play together. Keep gaming.